Hello, good evening. Ahead in the next half hour on Business Live, Ghana's economy will not be strong enough to support the strength of the cedi against its three major trading currencies in 2021. That's projection from Center for Economics, Finance and Inequality Studies, which says the local currency will end the year at 6 cedis 45 pesos to the dollar, despite a good run last year. Also tonight, Ghana Tourism Federation urges government to take a second look at the closure of some leisure centers as small businesses are on the verge of collapse. And Afrexim Bank to make available a $2 billion financial guarantee for all African countries to facilitate the purchase of vaccines for COVID-19. My name is Darryl Kwao. Thanks for being with us. Details right after this. Business Live. Ghana's currency is expected to end the year at 6 cedis at 45 pesos to the dollar. That's projection from Economic and Finance think tank Center for Economics, Finance and Inequality Studies (CEFIS) in a cedi outlook report this year. The cedi performed very well last year despite the pandemic, and market watchers were predicting a good run for this year subject to prudent economic management. So why this projection by CEFIS? I'm joined by Dr. Benjamin Amwa, who is lead author of the CEFIS economic forecast. It joins me with some more on this. Great to have you on the show tonight, sir. What is the basis for this projection? 6 cedis, 45 pesos to the dollar by end of year?
Yeah, the forecast that we have published is based on the cedi's behavior over some number of years. We are talking about over 20 years now. And we have observed the behavior of the cedi over time and looked at some of the factors that tend to drive the cedi's value in a particular direction. And based on our projections, we have come to the conclusions that we have. Again, last year, the sterling performance of the cedi is based on the decision taken by BOJ to go with the forward forex auction, which is a strategy to invite treasurers to bid for dollars ahead of time based on their forecast projections. But the issue is, will the central bank be committed to pumping this amount of dollars or forex onto the market? That is what we are looking at. And so if we use just last year, which is one observation out of the over 25 years observation of the cedi, the one is likely to get to the prediction that we have, unless we want to use the 1 point behavior of the cedi, which is that of 2020. But then if you want to look at it in totality over 25 years, they are most likely to come to the conclusion that we have predicted for the cedi come end of year 2021.
All right. I'm looking at your report right now on the factors influencing your forecasts. You raise concerns about GDP, exports, inflation, as well as imports and government expenditure. If you could just throw more light on your concerns there.
Okay, with GDP, we all know that because of COVID, we had to revise our GDP expectations. And again, the actual figures coming out shows that we're not able to meet our target set for 2020. COVID is still around, our economy is on the rebound. But then the question is, will we be able to exceed the resistance level that we have now because of COVID? The answer is likely to be no. And if you are not experiencing good growth in terms of GDP, then your currency is most likely to be weak. When we talk about government expenditure, we have just come out from an election business cycle condition. And if you observe, mostly it ran down to elections because of the commitment of politicians to win power. Most of the gains that are achieved before elections are sometimes watered down simply because politicians would like to meet the demands of electorate to win power. The effect of this as a result of the injection of liquidity and also the commitment of government to meet certain expectations is most likely to crystallize in 2021. This will mean that we are going to have excess liquidity in the system, which is most likely to drive out inflation. And if you don't have enough local output to meet this excess liquidity, then we need to import. And that is going to put pressure on our local currency as we import to meet the demand.
I must say this projection has taken so many people by surprise. I mean, market watchers were rather optimistic looking at the city's good run last year despite the pandemic. I'm not too sure if you heard me. I was talking about the fact that market watchers were optimistic last year about last year's performance, and looking into this year, they were expecting the good run to continue despite the pandemic. So, I mean, the difficulty is reconciling these two, your projection and what the other market watchers are looking at.
Okay, thank you very much. We had a forecast based on the number of years' behavior of the city. Now, the surprise is coming from just looking at the city at a point or just at a one behavior image, which is last year. The question we need to ask ourselves is, will the central bank still be committed to what they did last year that led to the sterling performance of the city? If the answer is yes, then we are most likely to have a stronger city. However, if the central bank will renege or relax or lower its commitment to what they did to strengthen the city last year, then we are going to have a much more weaker city in terms of its trading pair and performance on the forex market.
Just conclude.
Yeah, so the conclusion is that the central bank will have to do what they did last year. It is going to come at a cost. But then, because that is their ordained responsibility, they need to buy the forex and then pump it onto the market, and then hope that factors that are not within its control will not go against its policy. And in that case, we are in for a good city. If not, the central bank relaxes on its commitment in supporting the city, then we are most likely to see the prediction or the near prediction that we have in our outlook.
We've seen the central bank up its game at the beginning of this year, where we have seen the city lose some value to the dollar. And so what we're hearing is that the Bank of Ghana is pumping adequate dollars to be supplied to banks and businesses. But the question has been whether this is going to be sustainable for the rest of the year or not.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head. The issue is about sustainability. It costs the central bank so much to be able to supply the forex. So will the central bank's behavior be sustained in this regard? That is what we need to observe and then hope that the central bank will stay to its behavior. If not, then the city is likely to be as near as what we have predicted. So, and let's hope that the central bank will be committed.
In the meantime, how do we avoid this 6 cedis 45 pesos?
It is simple. For businessmen, what they need to do is to plan ahead. The forecast is just a planning tool. The forecast is just a planning tool. So we expect businessmen and women to plan ahead and then, if possible, negotiate dollars with their banks ahead of time based on their obligations that they are going to meet going forward. Secure the dollar now ahead of time, and then as and when you are obliged to effect the payment, you can fall on your commitment or the contract you have with your bank to get a CD, sorry, to get a dollar to pay for the obligations that you have committed yourself to. So it's more of attempting to go into a forward contract with your bank, and then you are good to go. In that case, you are able to avoid what may be a not too good year for the city. That is, if the central bank does not stay committed to its fight to support the city.
All right, we'll keep watching the currency market with you, and hopefully have a discussion in future depending on how that projection goes. Dr. Benjamin Amwa, thank you so much for your time. He's lead author for that Surface CD Outlook, which essentially says that the cedi is going to end the year 6 cedis 45 pesos to the dollar. Let's move away from that to the ports. The Ghana Export Promotion Authority, GIPA, says it will commit itself to building consensus between local exporters and shipping lines to ensure favorable freight rates, including container rate charges, container rent charges in the country. Importers and exporters are pleading with government to maintain charges at the ports despite the increase in international freight charges. The charges are becoming a nightmare for importers who say the cost of renting or shipping a container from Asia and Europe has skyrocketed from $3,000 to $13,000. According to GIPA, the advocacy has become necessary so as to ensure the sustainability of local businesses. Deputy Chief Executive Samuel Dentu spoke on the marketplace.
Freighting, I mean, you realize that is also another private business. But I mean, just before we went on the break, I mean, on the issue of freighting and cushioning exporters, we had a lot of meetings with various organizations, I mean, in the freighting business to ensure that our goods are not, I mean, do not cease going offshore because of freight costs. GEPA, as its were, cannot directly cushion traders in terms of maybe paying part of their freight costs or something like that. But we can speak with these private businesses to ensure that, I mean, because of COVID, we are able to ensure that their rates come down. I mean, a typical example of a meeting that we had was a meeting that we, I mean, in terms of freighting of foodstuffs, was having a meeting with one of the airlines to, together with the exporters themselves, to see how we are going to reduce the cost of freight. Yes, it is an issue because for the freight providers themselves, or the logistics providers themselves, I mean, there is a cut in business for them, and so they also look at ways that they can cover up. But what we do is to be a middle organization that brings the two private organizations together and talk to see how we can make it easier for our exporters to sustain their business.
All right.
So we do so many interventions in terms of advocacy to ensure that businesses still continue and, more importantly, keep their orders, because that's important.
The Ghana Tourism Federation is urging government to take a second look at the closure of some leisure centers, including pubs and beaches. President Akufo-Addo over the weekend announced the closure of pubs, nightclubs and beaches to help curb the rising COVID-19 cases in the country. According to its Executive Secretary, Emmanuel Frimpong, the centers can operate with strict adherence to COVID-19 protocols so that they can stay profitable. He joins me now for more on this. Thanks for your time, Emmanuel. I want to begin first with your reaction to the current restrictions on operations of leisure centers.
Thank you very much, Darrell, for having us. Well, it's kind of dicey because we are witnessing the upsurge of COVID-19. The numbers are actually going up. So we all have a role to play and to see how best we can curtail it, we can bring it down. But as we do that, we also have to look at how best we can do that whilst we also not destroying businesses, because that is the key. If you don't do it right, COVID will go and then we will have no businesses to run. Okay.
And so I'm just wondering how your members are planning to stay profitable in the midst of these restrictions to stay afloat.
I like the last word, to stay afloat, because staying profitable is out of the equation. Because right now, what they are thinking of is how to sustain their business. Not even thinking of breaking even, but to sustain the business so that when things get better, then they can have business. So it's a matter of surviving right now. It's not even about making profit or breaking even.
But how do you survive? How do you survive if you're not operating at all? I'm just wondering.
Yes, that is where we are looking at opportunity to sit down with the government and look at how best we can come in between so that we don't close their businesses outright. If we close it, then tomorrow if we open up, they won't have businesses. So we need to sit down and look at what are the modalities, what are the options left for us, because we believe that there are options. If we really want to look at how best these businesses should operate, we think there are options for us to do that. But we are not talking, we are not sitting down to look at the options available to us.
What options would you recommend?
Well, we all have to pay attention to the protocols, washing of hands, wearing of nose masks, social distancing, on all the other protocols that we need to adhere to. And we believe that if we are going to sit down, as the schools have gone back, they sat down with the government, looked at the measures, what is it that the schools can do to get the students back to schools. And now when you go to schools, yes, 3-year children, 4, 5, they are all wearing nose masks. How is it not possible for adults to wear nose masks, wash their hands at the cinemas, at the pubs? Is it not possible? It is possible.
I've heard argument that it would be rather difficult for people to comply. For instance, if you go to the pub and people are drinking, it would be difficult to tell them to wear their masks, observe other COVID protocols. What do you think?
It is an assumption. There's no science to it. It's just somebody sitting down to say that it will be difficult. How difficult, I don't know. Because if we have people who are observing, and we have people who are supposed to make sure others are observing, and we have all these protocols in place, and people are aware that, look, if you don't adhere to the protocols, your businesses will be closed. They'll be forced to do it. But if we sit down, we are not making any effort, we are just saying that people will just not obey. That one, we don't have anything to back it. We have nothing to back it.
Okay. I don't know when you'll be called for a discussion, but are you going to make moves yourself?
Yeah, we are making moves. We are making moves. We are doing everything possible to have a conversation and look at the realities on the ground. That is it possible to have some restrictions and get the businesses opened? We have to look at that. Other than that, tomorrow we'll all say that, okay, go back to your businesses, and there will be no businesses. Companies are closing down every single day. Every single day we have companies that are closing down. People are losing their businesses, and it is becoming harder and harder for people every single day. And that is not good for us.
Well, anytime I get to speak with you, I bring up the subject about the World Bank grant and other stimulus package promised to the tourism sector. Are you making progress?
Are we making progress? I'm not sure. What we have been told is that the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture had a challenge with the World Bank, those who are supposed to make sure everything is in place. They had a challenge. They said they are working on it. We don't know how far they've gone. Unfortunately, as a private sector, we have not been involved. So they tell us they are working on it, and we don't know exactly what is going on. We are only hoping that very soon they will call us to the table and tell us exactly what is going on, what they've done. Are they disbursing the money? What are the modalities for anybody to apply? We don't know it yet.
I'm hoping that Gatov catches the ear of the president and that you are called for a discussion. We'll touch base with you in the future to find out if it really does happen. Thanks very much, Emmanuel Frimpong. He is the Executive Secretary of the Ghana Tourism Federation. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Now, to one of our top stories tonight, the Africa Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank, is making available a $2 billion financial guarantee for all African countries to facilitate the purchase of vaccines for COVID-19. This fund will be made accessible to all 55 member countries of the AU. There's more in the following report.
This follows the announcement by the chairperson of the African Union, President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa, that the union has secured a provisional 270 million COVID-19 vaccine doses for Africa, and therefore a pre-order program has been opened on the Africa Medical Suppliers platform. The platform is to allow all member states to make online applications for the amount of doses required in their respective countries. Afreximbank will facilitate payment by providing advance procurement commitment guarantees of up to $2 billion to the manufacturers on behalf of all the member states, while the task force team has secured a provisional 270 million COVID-19 vaccine doses from Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca. The medical platform has opened pre-orders offering an equitable access of COVID-19 vaccines for Africa. Afreximbank is proud to expand its support to African economies in their bid to contain the pandemic. Our vaccine financing facility builds on the success of our pandemic trade impact mitigation facility to open access to COVID-19 vaccines to African states, said Professor Benedict Orama, President and Chairperson of the Board of Directors of Afreximbank. The Africa Medical Suppliers platform has also launched a new category of vaccine accessories which will help member states to procure products such as ultra-low temperature freezers, personal protection equipment, among others. According to the Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the biggest challenge to COVID-19 vaccine access in Africa have been financing of the vaccines and the logistics of vaccinating at scale. However, from today onwards, the African Union member states will be able to start placing online pre-orders to their vaccine allocations through the medical supplies platform.
Next on Business Live, your money tip on Money Lab.
Today on Money Lab, we want to go deeper once again into multiple streams of income. Remember, we are talking about financial wellness. The last time we said that to be financially well, you must build more than just salary. Today, I want to give some examples of how you can monetize your regular incomes through the platforms I shared about social media. I'm picking the example of a teacher, the example of a banker, and the example of a trader. So you are a banker, you get to the office at 6, you close at 5, you're a teller. One of the critical things you can do without disturbing your regular job and your employer's time is to put together the skill of receiving receipts and be able to advise people, MSMEs or anybody who would need to know how cash flow works and the times when cash flows are up or they are down. When you do that, you become an expert on social media and you get paid for. How about the teacher? The teacher who has started work and teaching in the classroom can now begin to create worth and content on social media so that parents can reach out to him off teaching times, on weekends, and you do virtual teachings for extra income. The trader who just trades on the shop in the market, you put it on social media, people can now order for their foodstuffs on social media, it's delivered to you and they pay both the delivery and the cost of the produce. When you do this, it doesn't matter your industry, you build multiple streams and you become financially well.
Multiple streams of income, very important. That's it for Business Live. Thanks for watching, everyone. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business.